Now, it doesn't mean that the first to make it into the neighborhood will necessarily be the first in mind. The first automobile manufacturer in the US was the Ries Motor Wagon Company. I don't know if anybody's ever driven a Ries. They were first, but they were dominated by a guy named Olds. He started the Olds Motor Vehicle Company, which would later become Oldsmobile. During the same time, companies like Cadillac and Ford began to make names for themselves. And their brands were stronger. Even though they weren't first, once they had created their brands, they grew to be more solid than Ries. So you don't have to be first, but there's a significant edge to those who are first and who create a name for themselves. The first people to climb Mount Everest were Sir Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa guide Tenzing Norgay. And both are very well-known names even after so many decades. At the end of 2010, there had been a total of 5,104 ascents of Everest by 3,142 different people. On May 16, 2002 alone, 54 people reached the summit in a single day, but by far the most famous have still been those two. Now, others have tried to make a name for themselves by changing the terms of first. It created a new category. The first female to climb Everest, the first winter ascent, the first to make the climb all the way from sea, first guy to climb up and then ski down, the youngest. The first has an edge, but if you can't be the edge, you just change the category you want to be first in mind in. Now the best, obviously, is always going to be the big one, real estate agent. But if you can't be first as real estate agent, make up a category. Real estate expert for this neighborhood, first in open houses, first in list price to sales price ratio. Find a way to be first. It's always better to be a big fish in a small pond and then increase the size of the pond than to be a small fish in a big pond. Most countries lead the world in something. Sometimes it's good things, sometimes not so good things. Some things are funny. Chile leads the world in long-term marriage. Venezuela leads in Miss Universe winners. Russia leads the world in both raspberries and nuclear warheads, and the US leads in the number of Nobel laureates, but also lawnmower-related fatalities. You want to find a category you can be first in and dominate it. The French have a marketing expression. It's Cherchez le creneau, look for the hole. Marketers say look for the hole and fill it. The best investment of your time, money, work, and knowledge is in a venture where you can be the first in mind for real estate agent. When we asked if there was a dominant agent, we were focusing on the word dominant, not if there's another agent. It's does another agent already enjoy the power of first in mind? And so, if so, we want to pay special attention to that. If they have the power of first in mind, it's not impossible that you can build a farm there, but it's improbable that you're going to dominate that farm unless the other agent just doesn't know what they're doing. The fact is, once you have an established brand in a farm and you continually service your clients with integrity, authenticity, skill, you continue to be a great agent who knows the farm, other agents are going to have a tough time becoming more dominant than you. So if there's a dominant agent in the area that you want to farm, we have to pay real close attention to them and evaluate the potential for replacing that dominance and becoming first in mind. But if they haven't established their brand, you might want to stick around. Amazon.com was not the first online bookstore. They started in 1994. In 1993, a Portland bookstore chain started their e-commerce bookstore site. It was Powell's.com. Amazon did a much better job of branding, and now most of Powell's business comes from brick and mortar stores. Amazon wasn't first, but they were the first to enjoy the power of first in mind. It comes down to this: 2 seeds fall on the forest floor. The 2 seeds closest together will fight an epic battle until one's dominated by the other. From then on, the first in mind will always have the edge. In his book, Positioning, Ries writes this. He says, the easy way to get into a person's mind is first. The hard way is to get into a person's mind. It's second. He says second is nowhere. The challenge is to be the first in mind. Branding really is positioning our product in a specific category, so when people think of that category, those reticular activators remind them of the brand. And that imprint right there in the brain is saying, real estate? Klaus team. So creating a category. The goal of branding is to create a category and use your brand to dominate that category. Think about Red Bull. They didn't seek to dominate the drink industry, but they created a category of energy drink and began to dominate it. Picture marketing as filling that empty spot in the mind. Prior to Red Bull, there were power bars, those energy bars, and hey, if there's energy bars, there must be an energy drink to go with it, right? But people didn't really think that. I mean, there was Gatorade, but that's a sports drink. It's not an energy drink. And we had coffee and soda, but they helped people realize that there was an empty piece missing from their life, energy drinks. And in doing so, they created a category of energy drink, and they filled it. We have a concept called the power of first in mind. People assume that the leader is the best. The first to come to mind is the leader and is thus the best. And so Red Bull enjoyed that. And other companies created energy drinks since that, and since the category was created, and some have worked, but for many people said, why do I want to drink that drink when Red Bull's clearly the best? Now, people don't use category names to say what they want. They're not going to say, I'd like an expensive Swiss watch. They're going to say they want a Rolex. They're not going to say they want to go to a high-end community coffee shop. They're going to say that they want to find a Starbucks. So a lot of people will skip the step of creating the category and they'll jump right off into marketing their brand. But unless you're first in a category, you're not going to be the leader and you're not going to get as much attention. If you create the category first, you remove the comparison. When Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic, he became the first pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic. A year later, Amelia Earhart became the first woman to be flown across the Atlantic. Now, there was a lot of hoopla over that. But then 3 years later, she changed the category. She became the first woman to fly solo by herself across the Atlantic. No one compares her to Charles Lindbergh. Who knows how many people flew across the Atlantic solo between Lindbergh and Earhart? And no one cares. She was the first woman to do it. She created a new category, and she dominated it.